Okay, so we are live now. So, good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you all on behalf of HNCC to this Hacktoberfest event 2021. I hope my screen is visible. So, let's get a quick cover about what we'll cover today. So, we'll go through today on open source, about its history and benefits, why open source, about Hacktoberfest, and yeah, our hands-on session on Git and GitHub. So, these are the speakers for today. So I guess more people are joining. So let's wait a few more minutes. Right, Himadri?
Yes, I can see many people are joining. Sapna, we should wait a few minutes.
Yeah. So how many of you are from first year? I guess almost all of them, right?
Yeah, many.
Yeah. I guess it's mainly first year. I know it's all the lockdown stuff and all. And the college is also being not open. So how many of you have, really been to college? I mean in physically, you have visited them.
They're still waiting, Sapna.
Yeah, I know. They're still waiting, right? I mean, we are the Corona batches as well, right? But we have been to a college and we have just been there for 5 to 6 months only. And now we are all stuck here, still waiting for that our college will open soon.
I can see many people are joining now. We
Yeah,
can
so I
start
guess let's start, right?
in a few
Yeah,
minutes.
yeah. So let's start. So basically, what is open source? So I know it's not an alien concept or something. I know many of you are familiar with it, and we practically use open source softwares in our life. Yeah. So these two are pretty popular examples. Yeah. So the first one is the Mozilla Firefox, the popular browser used commonly, and the second one, yeah, it's Android. Almost 80% smartphones have this operating system running. So yeah, this is also open source software. So basically, what is it? So those softwares in which the source code is released under a license. And what is that license? The copyright holder, that means the owner of the software, they grant users the right to use, study, to change or modify the code as per our wish, and we distribute them to our friends and family for whatever purpose. So let's see some examples of open source softwares. As I already told, Android open operating system, then Chrome, yeah, Mozilla Firefox, Linux, these are all examples of open source softwares. In contrast to the closed source software, which is this. So now we'll see the closed source softwares, right? These are also called proprietary softwares. So basically, what are they? So those softwares whose source code is not available to us, like we have no access to the source code. They're also called commercial software, closed source software, and proprietary softwares as well. So these softwares basically legally remain the property of the owner. So we have nothing to do with the source code behind that. So now examples are Windows, now Microsoft Office, iTunes, Mac, Google Earth. These are all examples of proprietary software. Now there's another term, freeware. Now there's a difference between freeware and open source software, which is often misconfused. Now freewares are those softwares which are free to use, but unlike the free and open source softwares, their source code is not freely available. Like we use WhatsApp and Google Talk and Yahoo and Adobe. These are all free for us, but the source code behind them is not available for us. So that makes it different from the open source softwares. Now let's see some benefits of these softwares. Now, the first and foremost is that anyone can contribute. It's a community, and anyone can contribute from whatever part of the world you are. You can just contribute to it. That's that's why it's called open source, right? So the first and foremost is open source advantage is that the source code is free. Mainly because it's free, so there is no license fee and they don't charge you a single penny for it, and they give the access to it. Secondly is its flexibility. Your source code is open to the best modifications, suggestions, improvements, and that too from top-notch developer community across the globe, and that too for free. Isn't it crazy? Now, thirdly, lower cost. Now, suppose if you have a product or application in your mind and you need the code behind it and you want to cut costs. So basically, what you'll do is that you will turn to open source to get the source code behind the product. So basically, you can use the source code and you can capitalize the product. So it's best option for companies, okay, business solutions. Now, fourth is continued improvement. So there is no end of the product. There is just endless improvement of your code. So there is less room for errors and always a scope for betterment. Now, last secondly, that it forms a community, right? Collaboration always forms a community. So it's not just the benefit of the owners that own the software, it's the benefit of the community as a whole. The members of the community who contribute, they often get recognized. Now, lastly, the security of the open source code. Now, the open source codes are really secure. By having so many people to scrutinize the code, to access the code, there's more chances that the bugs and security loopholes are addressed, and more updates are there frequently. So open source codes are secure. Now there are exceptions, right? Like Twitter has been hacked multiple times. Now Twitter is based on open source software, open source code, right? Now exceptions are everywhere. It's not just for open source. Like there are closed source softwares as well who have been hacked. Like there was a case in 2014 that credit card info of over 50 million customers in US and Canada was compromised. And you know what was the reason behind that? There was some vulnerability in Windows, Microsoft Windows. The hackers took advantage of that. So basically, exceptions are everyone. And all I want to say is that the open source code is really secure. If the community is active and it's a major project, then the bugs are addressed more likely, and the source code is more secure. So now this is a meme, like criminals can't use exploits in your code if your code is in secret, right? Now, so you say open source is good for company too. Now, this was a question which is often raised. Now, as I've already told, that you can turn to the source, open source, for the source code behind your product or application, and you can capitalize it. So it's basically a good option for businesses also. Now, let's delve into the history of it. So, who started it? So all the history goes back to 1970s and 80s. So this person, Richard Stallman, was working in a MIT AI lab. And once what happened that there was an annoying printer that broke many a times. And it couldn't be fixed because the source code behind it was not accessible to those people. So he thought that maybe he asked the company for the source code, but they denied it. So this person was really, irritated. He decided that he would come up with his own system, with own softwares, and he would not deny the source code of behind it. So in 1983, he came out with his own GNU operating system, the complete free software, free from constraints on the use of its source code. And with this, a movement was started, which obviously Richard led it. Now, this movement further enhanced when in 1991, Linus Torvalds invented Linux. Yes, Linux, the operating system, was invented by Linus Torvalds. Now, throughout the decade, this gained momentum. And due to its flexibility, many companies and corporations, they came forward and they benefited from it. They used it, like NASA, Dell, IBM, all of them. Now, obviously, the history of the open source goes to 1970s and 80s, right? But there has been an incident much before that, of course, where the source code behind the software was, open source. Can you name anyone like the name of that software? Obviously, not by the name of open source, but yeah, its source code was available. So you can technically say that it was open sourced. So can you guess the name of that software? Well, let me tell you, it was A2 Systems that was developed for the UNIVAC compiler in 1953. Yeah, that much back. So now the next question is that why open source, right? Like, what's the reason behind it? So it's just innovation, innovation, and innovation. So now what happened? Like the simple idea behind it is that when anyone finds a solution, everyone benefits. Innovation happens faster when softwares are, open sourced. Now let's see some, big tech word examples. Like in 2004, this person, David Hansen, he made Ruby on Rails, which was a web application tool. Now he open sourced it, and many popular platforms were used. I mean, were built used by this. Can you guess? Now this one, Twitter, the popular social media platform, it was based on this, and one more, GitHub. Yeah, it was also based on this. So in 2015, the tech giant Google, they developed their powerful artificial intelligence engine, and they named it TensorFlow. Yeah, this one. And they open sourced a part of it, not completely, of course. And then almost 1,000 companies came forward. They used the source code behind it, and they developed their own applications and products out of it. So that's the benefit and contribution of open source. The Microsoft, the proprietary leading proprietary software owner, it bought GitHub in 2018. So even they recognize how important it is in today's world. Now, yeah, this Android operating system, which I talked about earlier, is the most popular operating system. Yeah, 80% smartphones are powered by Android. And where did this Android come from? It came from Linux, the open source software. Now, this one. 99% supercomputers in the world are run by Linux. Yeah, that's an incredible development that open source has led to. So, as we're talking about Linux, let me ask a question. Linux is almost about 25 million plus lines today, is growing at a rapid rate daily, and almost daily, some number of lines are, added to it. So, what's that pace? Can anyone tell? Like, at what pace it is growing? So, yeah, it is growing almost like 7 to 8 thousand lines every day. It's fast, right? So, open source at HNCC, at our own HNCC. Majority of the code at HNCC is open source. 70% plus members they use Linux, and regularly they use open source softwares as well. And now 40% plus members have contributed to open source tech. And what's more interesting is that two of our final year seniors have qualified and contributed in GSOC 2021. Yeah, that's incredible. So these are Anjani and Suraj sir. They're also contributors at KD. And these are our third year contributors, Zishan, Anjali, and Rahul. They contributed to open source and particularly to Hacktoberfest. So that was it. Now it hasn't been long, right? Like it all started in 1970s and 80s, the open source thing. And it hasn't been long, and open source is taking over the world right now. So yeah. So now the next part is about Hacktoberfest, like what it really is. Now every year we celebrate this thing in October. So this is a pretty popular fest, and we'll delve into its more detail. So over to Himadri.
Yes, Sapna. My screen is visible, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So, hello guys. Hope you learned about open source, right? So, now I will tell you about Hacktoberfest 2021. So, guys, Hacktoberfest is a month long virtual festival event to celebrate open source contribution, and it is presented by DigitalOcean, Intel, and Dell. It is one of the easiest way to get into open source. During the entire month of October, all you have to do is to contribute to any open source projects and open at least 4 pull requests. Yes, any project and any kind of contributions. You don't need to be an expert in programming or coding. It can be just a bug fix, improvement, or even a documentation change. And win an awesome t shirt and awesome stickers. Now you must be thinking that why should I contribute? So, guys, Hacktoberfest's simple, plain objective is to support open source and earn a limited edition t shirt. But it's just not about the t shirt or the stickers. It's about supporting open source. It's about celebrating open source and giving it back. If you have never contributed to open source before, this is the perfect time to get started because Hacktoberfests provide a large list of available contribution opportunities. And yes, there are plenty of opportunities for beginners as well. Now, the next question, you might think that who can participate? So, guys, anyone. Hacktoberfest is open to everyone in our global community. Whether you are a developer, a student, learning to code, event host, or a company of any size, you can help drive growth of open source and make positive contributions to an ever growing community. All backgrounds and skill levels are encouraged to complete the challenge. It doesn't need always to be a code. It can be even documentation or spelling fix. You can contribute to any open source project hosted on GitHub between October 1st to October 31st midnight 2021. Now guys, now you know about Hacktoberfest, right? Now let me give you a brief detail about the rules. So you can see the 5 rules pointed out here. Let me explain you quickly about the rules. So guys, make valuable contributions. Simple contributions like editing text files or disruptive changes will marked as invalid by the maintainer of open source project. If your merged pull request is marked as invalid, it will not count towards the 4 pull requests you need to complete. Second, only merged pull requests are considered for the prizes. Make sure you address review comments and get your pull requests merged. Then repositories participating in Hacktoberfest will have issues with tag Hacktoberfest. So check this at the issue page of the open source project before contributing to it. Then guys, go through the guidelines and open issues of the project you want to contribute. This is to ensure that the format of your pull requests are in line with project goal. Then, once you have completed your 4 merged pull requests, you will receive an email from DigitalOcean with the form requesting your address and other details to deliver your exclusive t shirt. So, depending on your location, you will receive your prize and from mid November 2021 to January end 2022. So, guys, this contest is open worldwide. You can just now check the Hacktoberfest website and carry on with your pull requests and participate and get an exclusive t-shirt just now. So guys, you must be thinking about the pull requests and GitHub, okay? So let me make you this more easier for you. So next I will call Kunal to tell you the simplest ways to make a pull request and get started with GitHub. So over to you, Kunal.
Okay. Hey everyone. I hope you all are doing great. So, is my screen visible? Yes. Yes. Okay.
Yes, possible.
Hey everyone. Uh, today in this session, we are going to discuss on Git and GitHub. And throughout the session, our final agenda would be to find out that is Git really relevant to us, or is there any way so that we should not use Git or any alternative methods to use the same ways but not using Git. So let's see. And through it, we'll learn on what is Git, some basic terminologies, and finally, after we'll get into the practical implementations. So I'm from Computer Science Department of 2K20. Let's start. So what's Git? So the official documentation of Git says that Git is an open source and free distributed version control system designed to handle everything from small to very large projects with speed and efficiency. It's Such a lengthy, big definition. In simple, Git is a version control system. That's it. So, what is a version control system? So, Google says version control or a source control is the practice of tracking and managing changes to software code. Note down this word, tracking and managing changes. We'll discuss those words in the later and you'll understand the whole context of it. So, let's suppose you are working on a project and you are working on a project on a music player application and you have built a basic music player application, but now you need to add some features to it. For example, you need to add a shuffle feature, a loop feature, and also a multi-user support. So how will you do that? You don't want to get messed up with your original project code. So what you can do, that you can create multiple copies for working on different features. Like the version 1, you can name anything as per your requirement, but I am naming at version 1. So version 1 is my original copy. Version 2 is my copy for adding the feature of shuffle. Version 3 is my copy for adding the feature of loop, and then multi-user support will be in the version 4. So now for adding just three versions, we have four folders. And for summing up the whole project and deploying into a real world application, we have to merge all those projects. Okay, so we can do that. It's simple, just four folders. Assume that version 1 contains version 1.0.0.1. Similarly, many versions, and assumes all four versions contains their subversions. And it's not only four versions, you can add much more feature you want. So it's time taking, it's manual, and definitely not time efficient. So okay, so it's that was a scenario when you made a project and it was your project. But what if you work with your friends? What if you collaborate with other developers? Just suppose you are working on a project with you, in which you are your friend and one of your friend, and you all are given that, okay, you do one thing, you both of two just add some features to my project. So you one way could be like your friend will copy your project and do some changes, the other friend will also copy your project and do some changes. But what's next? You again have three different versions. Okay, so one way could be your friend can do some changes and give it to your friend, and then your friend can merge those changes, and then he can give it to you, and you can finally merge all those changes. Okay, that once one of the approaches. Okay, let's try to figure it out. Let's try to figure it out, think something that we don't have to make much more copies. Okay, so let's take another scenario where I am not using much more copy. For that, I am using a centralized computer, only one computer in which my project file will be there, and all of my friends will be working on it. Okay, so that's a useful tip, but only one person at a time can work for that project. All of three can't work. Okay, you can use a remote and you can use it from your home, but then also there's only one computer. So you have only one person can use that at one at a time. So it definitely not time efficient. And think of it not of your three friends. Think of it as a big project with 1,000 contributors. So it's a pretty hectic task for managing it manually. So those were the scenarios when we didn't use Git. So what were the disadvantages for it? Firstly, it was a manual process. We can't handle multiple features. Definitely not scalable. And of course, it's not efficient procedure for it. So a simple solution for could be use Git. That's it. Remember I told you about the versions and all? These versions or these folders or these features can be efficiently handled by Git. So you do your task and leave everything to the Git, and you don't have to manage all those tasks manually. Okay. So till now we have come to know that why should we use Git. So let's see how could we use Git. What are the methods or the procedures or the steps of using it. The first step obvious is the installation. So if you are using a Linux kernel or if you're using a Mac OS, then you don't need to install Git tool on your system. It's pre-installed. But if you're using a Windows machine, then you have to install a Git bash terminal from going to this website link. So if you go to this website link, there would be an option called download for your operating system. It's for Mac because I am using a Mac, so it would be download for your Windows build. So if you click on download, your downloading will be started, and then you can easily install the software as you do for other softwares. So okay, now so till then we have downloaded our Git bash terminal, and we can install it as simple as that. Let's jump into the code. So from this point, I'll try to not make it much theoretical, but to make it much more practical, and side by side I'll make you understand what codes I'm looking for. Okay, so I for that demonstration, I'll do in the first demonstration, that I will make a file, I will make a project, I will make some changes to it, and then I will push my project into the repository. What is a repository? Just note that term out. I will be explaining you later. Okay. So, what is a repository? So, a repository is a Git project encompasses with entire collection of files and folders associated with your project according to each file revision history. In simple, a repository is a folder which contains all the necessary files for your project. So you can term it as a master file or master folder for your project, in which every necessary file will be on that repository. Okay. So for that, I need to create a folder on my desktop. So I want a folder is to be created on my desktop. I can name it as per my need. I'll name it as Kunal. Okay, name it as Kunal dash Git. Okay. So now what I'll do some basic terminal commands for the for the operations on that folder. So currently I want to see that where I am. So if I do pwd, I am in desktop. What's pwd? So pwd basically prints the current working directory. Now you would be thinking, what's a directory? So Google says a directory is a file system cataloging structure. In simple, a directory is a folder. It's as simple as that. Directory is a folder. So I am basically printing my working directory. So it says I'm in user Kunal and desktop. Okay. So I want to go in the user Kunal desktop, and I have created a folder named as Kunal dash Git. So I want to get into that folder. So what I can do, I can do two things. Firstly, from the terminal, and the secondly, you can also double click and open that. It's as simple as that. So you can do cd Kunal dash Git. So if I press enter, and now if we do pwd, you can see my current working directory is Kunal dash Git. Okay. So now in the Kunal dash Git, I want to create a file, create a text file. So one way could be just double click into it, right click and create new file and create text file. And the another solution from the terminal would be just write a command touch new dot txt. So when we do touch new dot txt, it creates a file named as new dot txt. So what's touch? So touch basically creates a file, and all this documentation will be available in the description below of the YouTube link, so you can access it anytime. And there are a few more things which I'll be discussing in the later in the session. Okay, so I have done touch. So let's see. Yes, so a new .txt a file has been created. Let's create few more files. Okay, let's create few more files. Let's do uh, touch test1.txt. Okay, let's do test1.txt. Okay, our new file has been created. Let's do touch test2.txt. So a test2.txt has also been created. Now I want to do changes in it. So a simple solution could be just right double click on it and do some changes. Hey, I'll say hey and then quit. And then again I'll go into it. I'll say hello and save and then quit. Okay. So I have so as of now, what I have done, I have created a folder. In that folder, I have created 3 files. I have made some changes to the files. Okay. Now I want my version control, which I have installed few moments earlier, which we have installed a few moments earlier, Git, to be initialized in the folder. Why I want to initialize in the folder? Because I want to manage all my trackings and changes which I am doing on the folder. So let's do one thing. Let's type a command git init. So when I do git init, it basically initialized a empty git repository. See, it says initialized a empty git repository. It means my repository has been initialized with the version control. Now if I do git status, so it says no commit set untracked files. So these files which I have now created is not being tracked by my version control, which is Git. So what should we do? I should instruct my version control to track those files. So first I just want my test1.txt to be tracked by version control. So I'll do one thing. I'll do git space add space tst1.txt. So when I do this and I hit enter, it basically adds my these test1.txt into my staged area. So here the another term came known as staged area. So there are two terminologies, staged area and unstaged area. Staged area is a uh, is where the version control is able to interact with the files. So if I keep something in staged area, my version control will able to interact it, and if I keep something in unstaged area, my version control will not know that if this file really exists. So it doesn't matter for the version control. So let's do a commands git status and let's see what happens. So when I do git status, it says that my this test1.txt is in staged area, right? Is in my staged area, and new.txt and test2.txt is not in staged area. Okay, so now I want my text2.txt and new.txt, and if there are many other files, and I want all those files to be added on the staged area. So the one way could be I could use git add and then test1.txt space test2.txt space new.txt. Oof, time taking and manual. We are here to use the computer, not we are doing it something in manually. Okay, so there is a simple command for it: git add space dot. If I do git add space dot, it will basically add all those files present in the git repository in the staged area. So how to check it? Do git status. Here it is. So all these files of my unstaged area is now at the staged area. Okay. So as of now, I have created files, I have changed the file, I have initialized my directory with the version control, and now I want to keep track of my changes. So what can I do? I can do that. I'll write a simple command. Just say it. I am writing a simple command. I'll explain you later. I'm adding a simple message. Files added. Okay. So what this command actually means? I'm using git commit. So commit is basically when I do commit. So it creates a unique ID that allows us to keep a record of what changes we have made, and if suppose there are many other people, then what they have made. So it creates a unique ID. And if we are making any changes, so in future if we want to see that what exactly we did in this change, so in this change I basically added files, so I am writing a message of files added. Okay, so I'm committing my changes with a commit message which is files added. And when I hit enter, my files are committed now. Now I have committed the files. And then let's see one more thing. I'll type one command more and I'll explain you what is it. I'll do git branch. Here you can see there is a green color which is written as master. What it is actually? What is branch and what is master? Okay, so it's confusing. Let's see. Let's see what is it actually. So, what is branch? So branches, this is my main project. Assume this green line to be my main project, this green line to be my main project. And if I want to add some changes, as I have mentioned you earlier, if I want to add some versions to it, if I want to add some features to it, so what I do, without disturbing this main project, I'll pull out a branch. This is my work. I'll pull out a branch and I'll make some changes to it. And when my features are working very quite well, then I'll merge into the branch. And finally my work which I have done, the changes which I have done, the features which I have implemented will in this new branch. So while I am in my testing phase, so I don't want my live project to be mishandled. So I just take out a branch and I do some changes and I merge it. Similarly, if there is another person and who also wants to add a feature, then he also pull out a branch from that main branch, do some changes to it, and then finally merge into the final project. So this is the concept of branch. Let's take one other example. This is a master branch or a main branch. This you can write the name of the branch as anything. You can write your name. I can write my Kunal. But as a convention, we use main. We have earlier used master, but it depicts the master and slavery bit thing concept. So now as a convention we rename this master as main. So now when we use GitHub, we use main branch as our default branch. So this is a default branch, our main project. And now we have taken out a branch, and then in the branch we have taken out few other branch which is feature and feature 2. And after, when we are satisfied with our performance with the features, we basically merge it to the our project. So these are two feature, and we finally, when we are satisfied, we merge it to our project. So this is the concept of branch. Let's see. Let's jump into the code. So currently I am in the main master branch, but as I have already told you, the master branch is not a very positive thing. So I don't want this master branch. I'm not in the favor of this slavery and master it. Okay, so I want to rename the branch. So it's not my ego, but I want to just rename the branch. So I'll do git branch dash capital M. See, there is a small m which I have already told you, and this is capital M. So be careful with those flags. So these are flags. So these are flags, and if you want to know about flags, you can Google search it, because it's the not in the beyond of the course. Okay, so I'll rename is at main. So when I do branch dash M, so now if I see git branch, let's see what happens. Okay, so I have renamed my master branch to my main branch because I don't agree with the concept of master and slavery. Okay, so there is one more thing. When you basically commit now, when you basically commit initially, while without configuring your git to the terminal, you will find some error. It will say you to basically configure your terminal. So what you can do for it, so you can use these methods. This is available on the documentation of git. So you have to write a command git space config space dash dash global, and then the user dot name, then your username, and then you can set it as your username, then similarly for the email id, and then finally when you hit enter it will ask for your password. But there are some privacy concerns when but as of now the github, you have to uh, generate a token key, a sss token key. So you can find that in the github documentation for it. So it's very simple, you can set it up. Okay, let's see now. So we have set up, we have configured our terminal, we have understood the branch, and now we have created a branch, we have committed it, and now finally I want my project to be firstly saved on the internet, and secondly I want that few of my friends in the near future can contribute or can help me in the project. So what I need to do, so I need to save somewhere in the internet. So one good place for this is on GitHub. So what is GitHub? So GitHub is a cloud based hosting service which let us manage our git repositories. Repositories are again the master folders or master files which have open source project, that is git, and then GitHub is designed to help you manage them better. Okay, so now what I'll do, I will go to the GitHub. I'll go to the GitHub. So this is my GitHub profile. I'll click on the plus icon and I'll create a new repository. Okay, create a new repository named git dash sys dash new. So I will create a repository named as git dash sys dash new. Repository is all this, contains all the files and folders, and I'll create a repository by adding a readme file. You can add. Okay, so here you can see I have told you the concept of branch, right? So currently my default branch is main. My default branch is main. So I can show you much more examples, like let me show you examples, few of the examples. Okay, so let me go to my repositories and show you an example of TensorFlow or any. Okay, TensorFlow. So here is TensorFlow, and if you will see, there are various other versions, and these are the branch. So basically these are the concept of branch where you make new branch to basically do your work quite efficiently. Okay, okay, uh, okay, now I have done this, and now I want my files and folders to be in this repository. Okay, okay, so now I basically want all my files and folders which I have made changes to be in this repository. So what I can do, I will go to this code, I'll copy this, and I'll again go to the terminal. So here is my terminal. Okay, and then I'll do one thing. I'll do git. First of all, let's do git status. So it says nothing on the branch to commit because we have already committed. Okay, so now I'm adding a, I'm basically writing a command git space remote space add origin. I'll explain you what's this. And I have copied. You can paste by right clicking it and click on paste, or you can use shift control and V. So as per your convenience. Okay, so what's this? I've used git, this is remote, and this is add origin. So let's understand these terms one by one. Okay, let's see. The remote is basically all those files from where I am the main files or the main repository where all my files are there. This is called remote. Okay, I am adding my remote to this basically this URL or this address. In simple, for this context, I have made changes and I want my files to be on the GitHub repository, but my files don't know that where exactly is that repository. So I am adding this URL or this address as a reference to my version control, so that my files could be directly accessed to that repository, not because I have to give the command, right, where I have to see where I have to uh, send my changes, where I have to upload my files. Okay, let's see. So when I hit enter, I have successfully added the remote. So now I have created all the changes. I have created all the changes. I have done all the changes, and now I have to just upload those files. I will just do one command: git push origin main. When I do hit enter, okay, so it says, okay, so it may be there because hmm. So what I can do, so it says, okay, so we rejected error. Okay, so I told you about git, the concept of git push. So git push is about pushing my folders to the repository. But what I can do, I have to also see what I did. Okay, what I did. So while on the Safari, let's understand what I did. I created a README file, but on my repository there is no named as README file. Okay, so it is showing me an error. So for that, what I can do, I can do a simple command: git pull. Okay, so I have pulled my, and now if I see ls, okay, 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 so I have to do git pull origin main. Okay, oh sorry, so I have to also tell my version control from where I am pulling it. Okay, I can't do just git pull, so I am doing git pull origin main, and when I hit enter, it basically pulled my all the changes. Because see why this actually happened, we need to understand. So this is a you can say a conflict, a git conflict, which we face frequently. So what I did, I created a folder on my local machine, and I did some changes, and I created a repository uh, on the GitHub. But while creating the repository, I also created a readme file, but that readme file was not in my repository. So it was so basically there was a conflict of the version control. So it wasn't able to decide that what to keep and what not to keep, because we have to instruct our version control that what we should keep, right? So that's why it was fetching an error. Okay, and now then we have done this, so we have to do git push origin main. So now we have pulled the files which we have created on the repository, and now I want to upload these files to the repository. So I'm using git push origin main dash f means I am forcefully pushing it. So when I hit enter, so I have successfully pushed all my files. Pushing means basically I have uploaded my local files to the repository. Let's see if it has actually done. Okay, so it says no files. Okay, let's do refresh. And now, as I've already told you, there is a file new.txt, a txt1.txt, and txt2.txt. And the commit message, do you remember the commit message? I just did some commit messages here. I did some commit messages, files added. I did some commit messages, files added, and those commit messages are here, files added. Okay, so now I remember that, okay, I have to add one more file. What should I do? Okay, I have to add one more file. Let's add one more file. So let's print the working directory. It's pwd. Okay, I am current in the working directory, and I want to add touch new2.txt. When I hit enter, a new file is being created. Let's see in my git. Okay, a new file is created. new 2.txt. Okay, when I do git status, let's do git status. So it says new.txt is in unstaged area, and now I want that file to be in staged area because I want that file to be tracked by my version control. So I'll do git add. Either I can do git add space dot, or I can do git add, or you can say git add new 2.txt. Okay, so I can do git add new 2.txt. So I've successfully added my, so let's do git status. Okay, so it's now in my staged area. I have successfully added in my staged area, and now what I want is that I want to, now I have to commit because I have added. Now I have to commit. Let's do commit. Git commit dash m, and then I will write file added 2.0. File added 2.0 and hit enter. So it says file added successfully. Okay, now I will write git. I've added the remote and I have to just push it. I've committed git push origin main f. Okay, let's see again on my browser. Let's see on my browser. Where's my, yes, Safari. Let's refresh. Okay, so there is another new.txt. It says commit message file added 2.0. So till here, what we did, we basically created a project with some certain folders, and finally we we uploaded those projects or those folders to the Git repository. Okay, so now, but this doesn't happen all the times, because when we are working on a collaborative project, what happens that a repository is already created on the GitHub, and we do some changes to it because we want to add some features, and then what we do is after adding the features, we again upload our changes to the Git repository. So let's see how that happens. Okay, let's see how that happens. So take an example of this repository. So I'm on the organization of HNCC bits, and I'm repository named Hacktoberfest. So I want that I want to add something on the repository, or I want to do some changes on the repository. So what I can do, first for that, I have to, okay, let's refresh it. Okay, so I want that my some of my changes are on, should be on the repository. So I'll do one thing. I'll first fork this repository. So when I click on fork, it basically redirects to my profile. So what is fork? No, if I directly do changes on others repository, I won't be able to, because I don't have the credentials of the other person or the other organization. So what we usually do, we copy that repository into our GitHub profile or the GitHub, and then we make some changes to it, and then we ask for the permissions for the maintainer of that repository that see my changes. If you think that these are the correct changes, please merge them to your repository. Okay, so I have forked it, and now I want to copy this repository into my local machine because I want to do some changes. Okay, so for copying that repository into a local machine, what I can do, that I will copy this URL. I will go to the terminal. Let's go to my terminal. Okay, and I want that I want to copy my that repository into the desktop. Okay, so let's see what we can do. First of all, let's see my current working directory by pwd. If I do pwd, it says I'm in kunal dash git. I don't want copying that in kunal dash git. I want to in the desktop. So I will do a command cd space dot dot. It basically uh, you go a step backward in the directory structure. So if I hit enter and if I now do pwd, I'm in desktop, I'm in user kunal desktop, where I want to copy that repository. So for that I have a command git space clone, and I can do right click and paste on it, or you can also do shift control and v. While then I'll press hit enter. When I press enter, and let me show you that a repository named as Hacktoberfest 21 has been created. Okay, so now I want to do some changes into the repository, because in the real world scenario, when we are collaborating, so we do these things. Okay, so let's do one thing. So our current working directory is desktop. I want to get into the Hacktoberfest 21 directory. A directory is a folder, so I'm using directory. You can also say as folder. So I want to go into the folder named as Hacktoberfest 21. Let's check the spelling, because okay, Hacktoberfest 21. Hit enter. Let's check the current working directory. So it's I'm in user kunal desktop Hacktoberfest 21. Okay. So now I want again a text file, because I'm just doing a demonstration. So I'm using a text file. I'll do touch space kunal space txt. Okay, huh. So okay. So this touch command basically creates a file. You can also create .py file, .c file, .cpp file, .ipynb file, any format, any extension. Okay. So I'll do touch kunal.txt. When I hit enter, you will see here kunal.txt has been created on the Hacktoberfest 21 folder. Okay. Now I will open this up and I'll do hey everyone. Okay, sorry for the spelling mistake. I know I did some mistakes, but hope you get the concepts right. Okay. So I'm saving this, I'm closing this, and now see now. Earlier, if you remember, I just run the command git space init. So it basically initialized that repository. So now I will not do that command, because this repository has been already been initialized with git. So how to check it, how to verify that? Let's do a verification for is this repository is initialized or not. Let's do git status. Yes. So when I do git status, so my git status is working. This means this is already been initialized by a version control system, which is git in my case. Okay. So it says git status. So currently my file is in unstaged area. I have to keep into its staged area by adding a command named as git add space dot. I'm using space dot because I want to add all the files. You can also use a specific file. Hit enter. Now if I do git status, hit enter, so it says changes to be committed, git restore. Okay, now I want to do git commit. Why we do git commit? Because we want to keep a oh, okay, I accidentally pressed enter, so I have to okay, I have to do git commit dash m, and we have to do write a commit message, because what changes we did, if we want to see the changes or we want to see why we had made changes for our purpose. Okay, so I will write kunal text file has been added and hit enter. Okay, so I have successfully added a commit message, and then finally after using commit message I'll do git push. When I do git push, finally my folders, my changes has been successfully pushed to the my repository, not to the actual hncc bits Hacktoberfest. Let's refresh this. Okay, so now I have kunal.txt with a commit message of kunal text file has been added. So now I have added, and now I want to generate a pull request. What's a pull request? I am basically seeking the permission of the maintainer that please see my changes, and if the changes are relevant and useful to you, please merge that changes to your actual code. Okay, so I'll do contribute, click on contribute. I will open a pull request, click on open a pull request. So pull request, I'm basically requesting him. And in this, see here us, so here I compare from main to main. What's main? My main branch to the HNCC Hacktoberfest main branch. My main Kunal dash Matha slash Hacktoberfest 21. So I'm basically generating a pull request from my main branch to the HNCC's main branch. So when I click on create pull request, and this is the pull request message, so I'm leaving it as it is, and click on create pull request. So it will say is checking for the so there are no conflicts in the branch. Okay, so now I have pull request in the branch. Okay, so let's see if my pull request is being accepted by the maintainer. Let's see. Okay, so let's give the maintainer a few moment. Let them decide that, and let them check that if my code is verified or not. Okay, and till then, okay. Mhm. Okay, so now basically what we did, so let's summarize what we did as of now. Just refresh, let's see if the maintainer, so maintainer is reviewing our code. So let's summarize what we did. We first of all, we took a scenario when we created a folder, a project, and then we uploaded on the Git repository. So it was our project. Then in the other scenario, we cloned a repository into our local machine, did some changes, and then pushed our changes to the remote. Remote is basically from where it is accessing. Okay, so these are basically two scenarios. I have used few documentations. Let me make you go through the documentation. So this is documentation. It is freely, it is available on the Hacktoberfest, HNCC bits Hacktoberfest. You can access in it. And one more, so there is a gift, or you can say surprise for you. If you want to learn Git or GitHub in detail, there is a link for the entire course for you. You can directly click on it, and it's a free course. You can just learn the other advanced stuffs from it. Okay, so now we have given the maintainer appropriate amount of time. Let's refresh it, and let's see if the maintainer has merged our request. Okay, so maintainer has reviewed our code, and he or she has, I don't know. So okay, so he has merged my request, and this way you can contribute to open source, and you can efficiently use the Git and the GitHub tool. And I hope that you might have understood that why we actually use Git, and what could be we what challenges we could face if we don't use Git in our development profile, or you can development work. There could be such many more challenges to it. And I hope you guys have enjoyed this session. Everything it is present in the description on the YouTube section, so you can find all out the links, and hope you do your best. So that's all from my side. Thank you.
It was really great, Kunal. Such a wonderful explanation by you. I hope everyone got to learn many new things today. So, guys, today I hope you all are really inspired for open source and will definitely participate in Hacktoberfest this year. So, guys, concluding the session today, in next session we have our exclusive talk with our super seniors who have cracked Google Summer of Code. Will tell us about their experience and preparation about JSON. So, guys, hope to see you all in the next session of Hackathon and Coding Club. Bye bye.